Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second podcast in the series of 5, where we do a little myth busting about having to have a great voice in order to get into the voiceover industry. I'm Samantha Paris. With me today, Chuck Wedge. And today, our title for this podcast is Don't Judge an Actor by His Voice, Expanding Your Perception to Include All That's Possible Within You. Well, Chuck, why don't you start by telling our listeners what it is you actually do for a living?
Okay. Well, during the day, I am a producer at Leapfrog, a company that makes toys for children. I write the content. I manage it from the ideas to the actual shelves where people can buy and play with this toy.
Now, do you actually work with the voice actors? Is that
I do.
part of your job?
I do. I get the amazing opportunity to do that. It's actually my favorite part of the process.
Okay, so you actually sit in the director's chair at Leapfrog.
I do. I get to work with a lot of the people who have come from Voicetrax.
That's interesting. Okay, so what was it that made you decide that you were going to come and take some classes at Voicetrax?
When I first started, my producer dragged me into the booth and said it was a rite of passage that everybody had to record scratch audio for the toys that they were in, which the scratch audio is the audio that's there while we work out some of the kinks and design issues so that we don't pay somebody to come in and then have to pay them multiple times in order to work all that out. So we lay down temporary audio.
And were you good at it?
I thought I was going to be terrified, but as soon as the door closed, I lit up and I started asking after if there was anybody else who needed scratch audio and if I could do scratch audio for other people's toys who didn't want to come in.
Did you find it difficult? It
was difficult. It was a lot of fun, but one of the reasons I sought out Voicetrax was because I realized it wasn't just you walk in there and start talking. It was
okay. So when you started to study, Voicetrax really kind of changed your perspective on performing and directing and
absolutely. Yeah. Having been on the other side of the glass, I realized that some of the direction I was giving was very general and didn't fit what I needed them to do. I had a hard time translating what was in my head into direction that would work well for the actors. But after having been an actor in the booth, I realized that
you learned a better language.
I learned a better language
to be able to communicate with the actors.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this. So you come here and you start to study so that possibly you can go from just doing the scratch track to actually doing the voices in the toys and also being a better director for your actors. But was there other stuff that you started to discover within yourself besides character work?
Yes, actually. I through a lot of encouragement from you and the other instructors, I discovered that I was limiting myself. I thought I had this really charactery voice. Everybody had told me I had a very charactery voice and that only serious sounding actors could do commercial work. And
now, of course, enter one of your teachers and mentors, Sam Pond, who kind of changed your thinking, right?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. He does a lot of very funny radio ads.
Of which you recorded one. I believe it was your very first job.
It was my very first job.
Not bad to have your first job be a commercial produced by Sam Pond. We actually have that commercial, and I am so proud of you and it, and I want to play it for our listeners.
Everyone tells you to live your dream, but what if you dream you're a major league center fielder who's also a bottlenose dolphin? That's probably not the dream they mean. That dream is random. Here's something that isn't. Golden Gate University gives you the support you need to finish your bachelor's degree and live your dreams. Like the, yes, I will take that promotion kind of dream, not the, don't put me in, coach, I'm just an aquatic mammal without hands kind of dream. Learn more at ggu.edu. Golden Gate University. Shine.
See, this is such a perfect example of how there is a place for everybody, everybody's voice in voiceover. You were just exquisite in that, and quite honestly, there is nobody else that could have played that better than you. What was it like actually in the session?
Well, it was very exciting, but also I was very nervous because it was the first time I'd done anything like this. Sam works in a very fast-paced way. So he was, after we recorded it the first time, he started saying, move the third line to the first line and let's rewrite that fifth line. And by the time I'd finished probably 2 or 3 takes, my page was a mess and there was no way I could read it. So finally I just said, Sam, can we go over everything that I need to say and where things have been scratched out? Because I can't read my handwriting anymore.
I bet you, though, you were really glad to have training under your belt.
I think even though I was very nervous, I was able to mask a lot of it by using the training and just concentrating on the fact that it wasn't my performance that he was changing around. It was the words, and
it was his writing.
It was his writing.
So it wasn't about you; it was about him.
Yeah.
Do you have any other jobs right now on the horizon?
I do. I have tomorrow I go in and I record for an iPad app that is being worked on by a company called Kazoom. They recently did an app called Ned the Neuron, and they're working on a sequel to it. So I get the opportunity to be in that as well.
So are you like a talking brain or something?
I'm a scientist who's a neuron.
See, perfect casting. Of course you sound like a scientist that's a neuron. Of course you do. Well, do you have any last parting thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners, especially those people out there listening that are contemplating doing this, but for whatever feel like they don't really have anything special vocally or otherwise to bring to the table? What would you like to share with these people?
Don't give up. There's only one of you out there, and that every moment that I almost gave up, there was always one thing that kept encouraging me, and quite often it was you. But that by continuing to move on, I've now feel like I'm that much closer to living a dream that I've had forever.
You know, I'm just really compelled to ask you this one last question. If you could, would you want to change your voice, have a different voice?
If you asked me that probably 5 years ago, I would have said yes. But today, I would say no. I love it.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Chuck, for sharing your story with us today.
Oh, thank you.